Welcome to the Haven Hang, the live stream question and answer virtual support platform for young women musicians, also known as lionesses, to ask questions and talk one-on-one with saxophonist, vocalist, and educator Camille Thurman. This is an initiative designed to mentor, share, give advice and support for young women pursuing careers in music and the performing arts, where we discuss and give advice on making a career in the arts and being a woman, self-esteem, confidence, musical, personal development, strengthening your skills, how to study, navigating life as a musician, and so much more. Today, we feature a special guest, and she is an NEA Jazz Master, 3-time Grammy Award and Tony Award winning musician, vocalist, activist, UN ambassador, and all around badass, Miss Dee Dee.
Oh.
That's
right.
Yes. So we'll start out with a conversation with both Camille and Dee Dee, and then we're going to open up to questions. After the discussion, I'll jump back in and explain how you can ask a question and be a part of the conversation. Camille, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Chica?
Yay. Thanks for having us here today. And Miss Dee Dee Bridgewater.
I'm good. I'm just happy to be here with you two fabulous young women. So I'm very happy. I'm good. I'm down in New Orleans. I just had some gumbo, drinking my ginger beer.
That's right.
So I'm ready. I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dee Dee. It's an honor to have you on the Haven Hang with us, and I'm just excited to dig into some questions, and I know we're going to have lots and lots of fun.
Yes.
So, first question, what was your inspiration and who were your influences coming up as an artist?
Well, you know, I was influenced by all different kinds of people. I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and so my father was a part-time musician, a trumpet player. He was an educator. My mother was a secretary and then a junior executive with General Motors. So they always played jazz music in the house with their LPs. And then I listened to top 50 Black radio out of Flint, Michigan. So our station was WAMM, Wham. And then when I was a teenager, I listened to a Black radio station out of Memphis that I could get after 11 o'clock at night, which is called WDIA. And then in terms of artists that I would listen to specifically growing up, I mean, I remember Nancy Wilson. My walls in my bedroom were lined with articles on Nancy Wilson and album covers. And so I listened to Nancy Wilson a lot, but I just basically kind of listened to whatever was in the house, you know? Yeah. There was nobody specific. I mean, I remember my sister and I found, we would go garbage dive. We had neighbors that would throw out old albums once they didn't listen to them. And so we would just go around our little block and collect, you know, albums that had been thrown out. And sometimes they'd be warped, you know, and so you play them and, and the needle would go over that little warp. I'm going to have to take my earplugs out. Hold on. Now, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I've got to fix me so I can hear you. But that's basically it. There wasn't, you know, there were people that I admired when I was young. I was really infatuated, besides my infatuation with Nancy Wilson, because I just had never seen a jazz singer who was gorgeous and slender and classy and she was beautiful. So she was something. And then I was very drawn to Nina Simone. in the late 60s, because she had embraced her Blackness and, you know, was wearing her hair natural. And then she'd written for women. And I mean, she appealed to my militant self. And so I had those two women that I really, really admired. I also liked Dionne Warwick. I loved that whole period that Dionne did with Burt Bacharach and Hal David. So those were really great songs that she got to sing. And I remember wanting to have that kind of a relationship. I was like, wow, how fortunate she was to fall into, I mean, we don't fall into any situation, but to be in a situation with a composer and a lyricist, you know, and then to be the voice of their music. That was huge to me. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Then I was in love with Johnny Mathis.
You too?
I wanted to grow up and marry Johnny Mathis.
I'm sure.
I was so disappointed.
I loved him too.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me get my sound. Hold on, ladies, because for some reason, I am not hearing you all. Speak, Camille.
I can hear you.
You can hear me. I just can't hear you. I'm going to have to go and get my earphones. But okay, I can hear you, but it's faint.
Okay.
Okay, you can ask me something else.
It's interesting that you said that you love Nancy, because for me, coming up as a young woman, when I was 13, 12, I fell in love with Sarah and Ella kind of for the same reasons, because they had such an elegance to them. And
Hold quick. Hello?
I can hear you.
Oh, thank God. Okay, everyone listening in, I am technically challenged. Okay, so this time that we are in has really thrown me for a loop. Okay, so I am your dinosaur in the room. Okay, I just had to get that out. Okay, I'm back with you. Come on, Camille.
You're good.
Good. But what I was saying was, you know, for me, I gravitated to Ella and Sarah because they had an elegance to them that they carry. And even though I was 13, 14, like 40, 50 years later, looking into their work, there was just something about them that I admired about how they carry themselves and their presence. And even when they performed, I really gravitated to that. Did you kind of have that connection with Nancy, or?
Not really. I mean, I just would watch, you know, when she would do television shows and stuff like that. I mean, I didn't meet Nancy until maybe 10 years later, you know, after I'd moved to New York, and I met her when I was working with the Thad Jones Mel Lewis Orchestra, and she was not a nice person back then. She had some personal issues, and it kind of spilled over into her professional career. So she was quite adamant that she didn't want me to perform when the Thad Jones Mel Lewis Orchestra was accompanying her on dates. And being, you know, a big mouth that I am, I was, you know, I said to them, you know, but I am your singer. I'm part of your band. You're supposed to defend me. And so after a couple of shows, they put me on a show, and she threw a major hissy fit backstage while I was singing. You could hear stuff being thrown around and breaking, and, you know, like flower vases. And I mean, it was really, really crazy.
Oh, wow.
And I think we were in Philadelphia, actually. But, you know, then if you fast forward, of course, you know, we did have some personal encounters where I shared with her, you know, how upset I was, and she explained to me where she was at that period, and then we became friends. Wow. You know. And when I lived in Vegas, sometimes I would run into her when I would be walking through a casino off the strip, and And yeah, because Nancy liked the machines, you know, and so I'd be walking through and there would be Nancy Wilson sitting at a machine and all of her glory and some fabulous sweatsuit and all her bling on and them long nails and hitting the machine. Yeah. So, but we had some wonderful conversations. So I was glad that we could resolve that. Wow. And, you know, I mean, my influencers as a performer, you know, Betty Carter was my main influence. I had never, when I first moved to New York, I was like her puppy dog. I followed her everywhere, and she would let me. She would always tell me where she was performing, and I would make my reservations. I would always pay, and I would always sit alone, and I had to be at the first table. I had to be in the front so that I could watch everything that she did. And you know, I would say that the artist that I am today, my strongest influence is Betty. The fact that I produced myself, that came from Betty, because I would go to her brownstone that she had on St. Felix in Brooklyn, which runs alongside BAM. Yeah. And at one point she was trying to make that a musician street. So she was trying to get musicians to buy or rent apartments in brownstones, or, you know, buy brownstones and on that block. And at that time I was married with Cecil, and we almost bought, and then we changed our minds. But yeah, Betty was my major influence. I grew up, my mom says that I could scat before I could talk, because my mother was a huge fan of Ella Fitzgerald. Oh, wow. And so she said I would stand on the side of my crib at about 10 months old and just she said I would rock back and forth like this, holding the rail, and scat. So when I decided, well, actually before that, I always thought, because of Ella being so omnipresent and such an ambassador for women, I thought that a prerequisite to being a jazz singer was that you had to scat. And I always could scat, and I never understood how I could do this. So once I was doing the album Dear Ella, and I was researching her music, that was when my mother told me that I could scat before I could talk. So I guess I had Ella. It was in my subconscious, you know, growing up. Yeah. And then I wanted to be like Tina Turner. Come on now.
Yeah, exactly. Mama Tina.
I wanted to be like Tina Turner. And in fact, when I lived in France, all the years that I lived in France, they called me the Tina Turner of jazz. So that was pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah. But, you know, I think I've always liked, you know, and then I had a wonderful relationship with Abby Lincoln. I love strong women. I love strong women, you know. So they were always, you know, they were my influence. I always felt that it was important as a singer to present myself in a classy way, and I realized, you know, young, that image is really important. So, but I've always loved fashion anyway. So it really, as I got older, the older I would get, the more importance the image took for me. And now that I have reached, you know, 70 years of age, I am very intent on breaking this image of the old lady, and as a performer, I know that in order for me to stay in the race, I have got to keep presenting that youthful side of myself, and part of it is, you know, the way I look. And because I'm just, should I stop?
No, keep going. No.
I have found that, as we women get older, we see less and less of ourselves out there. And as a singer, I mean, one of the reasons is a lot of singers lose their voices. They become weaker. My voice has become stronger, which I don't know what that's about. I try to ask the Lord, but he hasn't said anything to me. He just keeps saying I can do it. So, but it's I think we live in a world where, I mean, we are gaining ground, of course, now as women in the industry, but we have to walk so many fine lines,
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's really, it's fatiguing. It's fatiguing a lot of times. Yeah. I mean, I remember experiences until I started working with young musicians. When I would work with established musicians, and if the musicians had reputations, and they would come to work with me, they would come to work with me with, I don't want to say with disrespect, but they always would think, oh, she's a singer, so it's fluff. And so they wouldn't learn the music. And then we would get on the stage and then they would be messing up, and so I got to being that person that would call a person out on the stage in front of the audience, in front of the public, if they didn't have their stuff together, because I'm not going to stand for that. I'm just not going to stand for that. I have docked musicians when they have not learned their parts. Because I'm a musician. Well, usually I will have a musical director, and so music is distributed. They get live performances. They got the sheet music. They got everything they need, right, to prepare in advance. Because a lot of times I have to hire on the fly, and we don't have time to rehearse until we get to the bandstand, and then we have our sound check, and the sound check is a rehearsal. Right. So I have found that I have had attitude problems with established musicians and with young musicians who are like just because mine have come out of Berkeley. These amazing young musicians that I've started working with, a lot of them have come out of Berkeley, but they come with the respect. They come ready, and then they're always asking me, Miss Dee Dee, was that okay? What would you like? You want me to do this? I saw how you were moving, I'm trying to move with, so right. There's been a huge difference. So I'm not interested in playing with any established musicians now, unless it's going to be a front person like me. Mm-hmm. But, and unless it's something that's put together specifically, but to have somebody older in my band now, they're not going to bring their A game. I want the A game. Because when I go on stage, I go for blood. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want some half-stepping older person up there that's all up in their feelings and has this idea of who they are and that they're gracing me with their presence. I am not interested. I'm just not interested. You go to somebody else's party because I'm throwing you out of mine. So, I think being a musician, being an artist is a process. I think in the beginning, none of us know. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and how I wanted to do it. I had ideas that I had and concepts that I had taken from other women that I had seen perform. And I also loved Etta James. So I wanted to be funky like Etta James. I wanted to pull that microphone cord through my legs and be all suggestive. I've always had a kind of sexual thing that, I like sexual innuendo. And and there was a time when I was all up in it, and Prince I'd seen Prince like maybe 3 times, and I was just like, I'm gonna be like that, and I'm gonna be like Etta. You know, I would bend over,
Yes,
backwards. I mean, bend over with my boom to the audience and go down, and I'd sing with my head between my legs. Oh, I was terrible. I would hump the piano leg. I would do all kinds of stuff depending on what I was singing and what I was trying to evoke. I was wild. I was wild. But, you know, you go through these phases, and then you kind of wind up in a place where it all kind of begins to gel. But I was never afraid to take the chance, you know, and to run the risk. I was also the artist who would write a letter to a critic if he wrote a bad review. And it didn't have to be a review about me. If I would read a bad review when critics were really, really, really important, yeah, I was that person. So a lot of journalists still remember me for that. I'm known for my emails and my letters. I can write a letter or send an email and cause great commotion.
But you know, that's a gift though, because today with social media, especially my generation and younger, we don't deal with people directly like that anymore in that capacity. And it's a skill to learn how to articulate and back it up with history and be able to get to your point and communicate with the person, even if it's a disagreement.
Yeah.
I remember stories even of other musicians like Wallace Roney or even Dexter Gordon would do the same thing. Like I was reading Maxine's book, and in the book, it was a letter that he wrote to the record label and expressing, look, I need my royalties. I need to get paid. But the way he wrote it was so eloquent, but still to the point. And I feel like that's something my generation, we really have to make sure we understand and at least master, because it's a skill.
You know, it is a skill, and maybe mine came from the fact that when I was in high school and I started really expressing my desire to be, you know, a professional singer, my mother said, you better learn something else so you can support yourself while you're out there trying to get those gigs. So I took up secretarial work when I was in high school. So I know how to write a serious letter, you know, and my first jobs, I had secretarial positions, and I knew shorthand, and, you know, I'd go in and they'd dictate letters and I'd go and pop them out. And a lot of times after I would have a job, because I did have this kind of gift, as you say, for articulating things for people, they would say, oh, you know, Dee Dee, I want to draft a letter for me, and I just want you to say da 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 da. And then they would just let me do my thing. And so then I'd go in with these letters and, oh, this is great. You know, this is better than I ever could have said it, you know, so maybe that was my gift. But I have to be careful now, because I have ended relationships with my emails and my letters. I have had people quit after an email or a letter from me. I've had to sweet talk people and apologize and try and win them back, you know. But I think, you know, the one thing that I can say about that is I'm willing to run that risk, because I believe so strongly in a particular thing that I am willing to run that risk. But I'm going to call you out. But I'm also that person that will apologize if I have been offensive, if someone has taken something in a manner that I didn't mean for it to be taken, or just being wrong. Because, you know, I'm human. I'm not right all the time. So I think, you know, it's a fine line that we have to walk. But I think one thing that I can say to all of you young women is, do not be afraid to use your voice. Do not be afraid to have an opportunity, a situation close, because another door is going to open that's going to be the right door for you.
Right.
So never sell yourself short. Be ready to not work for a minute. If you know you have had to stand on your principles and your morals, because I'm gonna tell you, it can happen and continue to happen, but over time, you get a reputation for being, like y'all said about me, a badass. You know, and I know that there are people that say I'm a bitch, and I can be a bitch, but sometimes I have to be a bitch. I'm less of a bitch in a business sense now than I was when I was younger, because I was still fighting and fighting hard, you know? So it's about learning how to uh, feel out a situation. It's about being able to listen and to hear between the words that are being said. You've got to take so much into consideration when you're dealing in a business situation. It's not only the words that you're hearing or the words that have been written in an email. It's all of that. In French, we say sous-entendu, the underbelly that's going around, that's swirling up under there too. So you've got to learn how to read between the lines. You've got to learn how to protect yourselves legally. Read those contracts. Read them. I don't care how laborious it is. Read it. Or if you don't want to do it, get somebody that has the legal knowledge that can read it to you. And you go over it, because that is something that it becomes second nature with time. You know, it's always a pain in the butt in the beginning. And but it goes for any time you have any kind of contract. Whether, listen, I am trying to get out of a timeshare. I decided, I took my grandkids on a little weekend, and the place we stayed at was really cool, and it was one of these timeshare things. And I went in and I was so excited, and I saw, well, here I am 6 years later, and I've never been, because I never had the time, you know, to do it. And I just went in and I read some of the paperwork that I didn't read, because it was this, you know, this pressure sale. And so now I'm having to, you know, hire an attorney to try and get out of this timeshare. So it's really important. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of reading a contract, the importance of having a contract.
Yeah.
Having something written on paper that spells out exactly what the deal is between you and whoever it is that you're dealing with.
And
just like, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and the end date terms too.
Very important. Very important. You know, it takes a lot to developing your career. It takes even more to keep it. Mm-hmm. It really does. It's a lot of fun as you're going through the process of defining who you are and how you want to be, and all of the different musical experiences that you encounter and everything. But you'll get to a moment where you kind of hit a plateau, and then where are you going? Where are you going to go after that? So it's also about, once you get started, have a vision, have a dream, have your end goal. And then once you reach that one, have another one. Right. And then make them bigger. Right. Each one has got to be bigger than the last one, so that you're always pushing the envelope and you're always pushing yourself forward. And and don't settle. If you're going to stay in this business, you can't settle. Amen. You cannot. And you know, I was always the only woman in my musical situations until recently. I was always the only woman. And so I had to learn at a time when there was, I mean, when sexism was rampant, and I mean, I had to deal with couch casting. I had to deal with, you know, being told I needed to sleep with the record executive in order for my album to get any kind of prominence. I was put off of two record labels because I would not sleep with somebody. But I'm talking about like the president and the vice president, you know. So, and I was called and told, oh, you know, you refused to sleep with the vice president of Atlantic Records. We have canned your record.
Wow.
As we say today, shit happens. But I didn't do it. I didn't sleep with them. And so I began to have that reputation. So after a while, they knew they couldn't come to me and say, oh, well, you know, get Dee Dee Bridgewater, she'll sleep with you. They knew that Dee Dee Bridgewater was not that person. So you have to stand your ground, and stuff will come around. Stuff will come around. It'll come back around. So that's what I do.
Wow. You answered all my questions.
Did I?
Yeah, because I had a whole bunch of questions, and you just like one by one. I'm so happy that you just spoke. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You said a lot of important things that I hope that this platform will achieve in instilling into young women to stand up for yourself, to speak up. And, you know, sometimes you have to say no. And it's totally fine to say no and not have to feel pressured into doing something that you don't want to do. Because like you said, it's not about just getting that one gig. It's about keeping your career going, the longevity of it, and fight you're building. So thank you for your words.
I mean, there's also, you know, I mean, I have experienced this too many times. So I know that this is true. And I rest on this because I know that this is true. That when I have fought for something and I've had a door closed on me, I could say now it's almost immediate. Another door opens.
That's right.
And it's the door I needed to go through. And I have learned after being in this business for now 50 years, off and on, that, oh shoot, I just lost my train of thought. There will always be another opportunity. There will always be another opportunity. But what is important is for you to keep your integrity.
That's right.
And your scruples. You know, when this whole Me Too movement happened, I was like, oh, please give me a break. Oh, come on. Oh, well, I just felt like if I did it, I wasn't going to get the gig. Oh, please. Then who raised you wrong? Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Come on now. We all have a mouth and we can all say no. Then don't put yourself in a situation like, you know, like that, where you're going to have somebody try and aggress you in a sexual way. You know, I can go out stage and be sexy as I want to be, but I'm going to tell you what, I give off a vibe that lets a man know they better not say poo poo caca unless it's a very nice compliment. Because I've slapped, you know, they've said something wrong and that's been my response. That's me. That's me.
I have a quick question, and this is probably I'm the lady. How do you develop that ability to be able to stand and say no? Because I know for some young women, they've been in situations where they have had that encounter, and maybe their shyness or their fear has locked them in those situations from being able to be like, no, listen to me. No, you're wrong. Don't do that. But they might not know how to navigate dealing with that situation as it's happening.
Then you've got to work on your self-esteem. Yeah. It's because this is about you thinking little of yourself. This is about somebody feeling that, well, I guess I better do it, because you don't think enough of yourself. So you've got to, if you want to be in this business, because it is a business, you have got to get your self-esteem to the point that you can be strong. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is, don't put yourself in a situation where the possibility of this stuff happening can exist.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, when the gig is over, don't be going having somebody say they're gonna give you a ride, and how that individual is, and then find yourself in a compromised position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Make sure that when you get ready to leave a gig, if you got to walk to the metro or wherever it is you're going, or walk to the parking lot, don't park in the corner in the dark. You know what I'm saying? Don't walk down a street where it looks suspicious. Stay in lit areas. Don't be in the dark. Don't put yourself in those kinds of positions. Yeah. Get somebody to walk with you, or you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Have a girlfriend meet you, or a guy friend meet you, whatever it is, so that you're not alone. It's just important to use common sense. For example, when I travel, I always text my kids when I'm getting on the plane, so they know I got on the plane.
Right.
I text when I land. If I'm in a foreign country and I'm getting ready to go somewhere, I let somebody in my crew know I'm going. I let people at the front desk know I'm going.
Yeah.
So I've got a trace of what's going on, and a lot of times when you're in a place that you don't know, you just don't go by yourself. You just don't do it. You just don't. You get somebody to go with you. So, I mean, there are just, so many ways that you can protect yourself so that you don't find yourself in those situations. Now, I can say that I had an individual share with me that she had accepted a ride with someone, and then they tried to aggress her in the car, and then she had to get out, and this was somebody that she was working with, and but then she went and tried and took another ride with him. So she's now, even though she was able to get out of the first situation, sent a contradictory message to this person, and then she's back in the car, and she knows what he did the first time.
Yeah.
He tried it the second time. And then you get musicians who will try and blacklist you if you don't give it up. I'm gonna tell people not to hire you. Well, you got to be willing to take that chance. And if that person is going to be that kind of individual, then the people he's going to spread it to, they are all individuals you do not want to work with in the first place. Right. So it's all about learning this stuff, but trying to be, to go about it with as much common sense as you can.
Yeah. Yeah. You nailed it.
That's me.
You nailed it. I remember when I first hit the scene in New York City, and Uni can vouch for that too. Right. Both of us, we would go to jam sessions together because we didn't want to allow one of us to go. And even if one of us did and the other one didn't want to go that night, we would text each other and say, hey, you okay? You cool? Yeah, I'm
yes.
Good. Or when we would go together, they knew they would look at us and be like, Bonnie and Clyde is here. But I mean, it was cool because it established a rapport that we both were serious about the music, and we both had each other's back, and we wouldn't allow each other to get into a situation where even if we saw our friend possibly getting into some murky waters, one of us would butt in and be like, hey girl, how you doing? Let's look at too. And when it came to going home together, we had our big brothers that we trusted to be like, hey, you need a ride home, the both of you? I'll give you a ride.
Yep.
I think for young women, because we have a lot of young women that look at this session, it's important to have your network of your community, your mentors, but then also creating that community amongst your peers too, and making sure that you keep each other accountable and look out for each other. Like I had a situation with a friend. We did a gig together, and she hung out, and there were some musicians there, and I could tell she was just kind of like wet behind the ears kind of vibe, and she's like, oh, this is great, oh, we're talking to me, and my friend and I, we were about to leave, and we were like, hey, we're about to leave, are you okay? And we could tell the situation was starting to get a little slimy, and she's like, oh, I'm fine, everything's cool. And I was like, okay. 2 minutes later, I was like, is everything okay? You need a ride? No, everything's cool. And I was like, you sure? And the next day, she was like, oh my gosh, I should have went home with you. You were so right. And I was like, that's why I was asking you the question 10 times.
But sometimes, you know, here's another way to deal with that particular kind of situation. Sometimes when you see that the person is clueless, you have to say, excuse me, and you got to pull them aside. And say, listen, baby, I'm not getting a good feeling here.
Right.
This is why I'm asking you. I think, this is just me, but I think maybe it might be good if you came with us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because sometimes, like you just had, people are clueless, you know, and they're so just excited to be out there and, you know, and have some attention, and you know that they don't really realize that there is that risk,
right?
You know, for I mean, yeah, for us as women, for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, if it's okay, I'm gonna jump into some questions because
I
have some questions from my listeners.
Okay.
And for people out there on Facebook, if you got some questions, please write them down in the comments box. We're going to try to fit them in as quickly as we can because I know we're running out of time. But the first question was from Alex.
Okay.
Los Angeles. And she asked, what are some ways that you keep going and believing in yourself and persevere when it seems like you have a long way to go?
You can't look at the where you're trying to get to. You can only deal with your day-to-day situation. You will trip yourself up if you're trying to look at your end game and constantly keep that in focus. You establish where it is you want to go. So you know that's here. It's in your head. It's in your heart. It kind of permeates what you're doing. So your focus should be on your immediate. And for me, sometimes I can say right now, since this pandemic has started, I have not felt creative at all. Zero. I'm just now in the last like maybe 5 or 6 days starting to feel like, oh, let me move. Let me do, I want to do something. And now I want to do something. But this, it's been March in New Orleans, in Louisiana, we shut down. I think it was the 15th of March.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, the 17th of June. Mm-hmm. So April, May, June, 3 months. So what I do in those situations where I'm not quite sure, I have learned the importance of learning to be still. And to not be afraid of having these pauses in your life, these creative pauses in your life where you have to just be still, right. And so for me in these 3 months, since I didn't feel creative, it's the first time I've been at home in my house. I bought this house 2 years ago, and it was 2 weeks ago. I'm on the phone with my therapist, and I said, I feel like I live in my house. I live in my house. Oh my gosh. I've been doing things in I have 4 boxes left to unpack. 4.
I believe you. I got plans now.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I put some plants in my front of my house. I mean, I've been doing stuff around my house. I've been doing stuff with my dog. I've been taking rides to really try and explore where I live and to try and understand, just the surroundings of New Orleans. And I kind of live out in the country. So I've been taking drives. Now I don't know if I'm going to continue to take drives because of the climate, and there's a lot of anger and hostility out there. And I don't want to be, the lone Black woman in a luxury vehicle and have, somebody pop me. So I'm not doing my explorative drives that I used to do at the beginning of the pandemic when it hit here. So, I mean, but it's that kind of thing. You've got to have a sense of what's going on. I'm just not going to get in a car and go drive down some dirt roads right now. I'm not going to do that. Right. I'm just not, there are a lot of angry people out here. But I just think, to answer your question, sometimes it's about being still, and then things will come to you when you are still.
Right.
When you're not pushing and insisting that I've got to be doing something.
That's it.
Opportunities can present themselves in your still moments.
That's right.
So you don't have to be doing something every day, all the time. You're a human being. And sometimes you need a spiritual break. Sometimes your spirit and your mind will say, we need to sit down and be still. Okay, so you've got to learn to pay attention to your inner voice and your spirit. And a lot of times you will find the answers that you're looking for. But don't push a situation. One thing that I have always learned is if there's something that I think I want to do and I'm like really trying to push and make the thing happen, if that thing is unyielding, I'm not supposed to do that thing.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then when I let it go, then the thing and I didn't even know that was the thing I was supposed to be doing, because I was so busy, looking at A. And then when B happened, I was like, oh, wow, well, this is better than what I thought I wanted to do in the first place. But you don't have to. Situations, if it's a right situation, I've always had things just kind of fall in place the way they're supposed to. But then I believe in God, and I believe in the power of prayer, and I've given myself and my services to this higher being. Okay. And my talents are God-given. I never had to train for anything. I don't read music. I don't know anything about music, but I got big ears, but I grew up in a time where a lot of musicians didn't read music. A lot of our greats, our legends did not read music, when they started out, and still don't. So there's room in this world, I think, for every kind of musician. So it's about listening, I think, to your inner voice and just really being honest with yourself about, where it is you want to go, and you'll find it. It'll happen, but you can't not do the work that you need to do, so that when you get the opportunity, you're ready. You've got to do your homework. Okay, I'm done.
We've got some questions here if you guys want to open it up a little bit.
Okay.
We have 2 questions from 2 people here from Ustra and someone that goes by RGH on the chat. So Ustra, I'm going to ask to unmute you for you to ask your question.
Hey, Yustra.
Hi, Yustra. Where is Yustra? Hi.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
I see you, Yustra.
See you.
Okay.
What's your question? Yustra?
Hello? Yustra?
Can you hear us, Yustra?
Can you hear us? I don't think she can hear us.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll go on.
You're muted. Unmute.
Oh, you're muted.
Unmute.
Wait, let's try one more time.
Yustra, you're muted.
She's muted.
I'm asking her to unmute. Let's see.
You gotta unmute. There you go.
Yep.
There you are.
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Right.
Yeah. Yes. There we go.
Hey.
Oh, okay. Let me start. Yeah.
What was your question?
Oh. Okay. I'm confused.
Do you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
it's okay.
God. Okay. Yes.
You have a question? Yustra.
My problem is, well, it's not a real question per se. No, not really right now, because I got lost. My phone dying, so I switched to my tablet, and it's all over.
Oh, okay.
So, okay.
You're okay.
No problem.
All right.
Good to see you. We'll go on to the next
question.
All right. RGH.
RGH. Who is that?
Oh, it's
Hi. Who is
Hi,
this?
Raven.
Hi, Raven.
Oh. We can't hear you, Raven.
We can't hear you, Raven.
Oh, Raven. We can't hear you. You are unmuted, but
pull your volume up. I don't know.
Try your volume.
Try your volume.
Are you on your phone? Maybe raise the volume on your phone. Oh, man.
Oh, gosh. You know what? Type it.
Type your question, Raven. Okay, type your question and we'll go on to the next one. Man.
I'm glad I'm not the only person who's not technically savvy. Yes.
All right, Whitney Marshall.
Okay, I know you guys can't see me, right?
No, we can't.
No, we can't see you, but
I can see you. My camera went out. Hi, Dee Dee. Hi, Yumi.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
okay, this is my question. A lot of times we over practice. Vocally, we over practice. On a horn, we over practice. When is the time that are the warnings that we stop doing that? Or what exercises can we do to lengthen our process? Just tell me about over practicing.
I can't tell you about over practicing because I never have. I think, as a singer, Whitney, your voice will let you know, your body will let you know when you've done enough. I think if you want to do a practice, I think you can do an hour or two a day, but I don't know what your practice would be. I don't practice. See, so when we kind of texted about this before the show. Yeah. So how do you over practice? I don't understand.
I've seen students tell me they've practiced so much that their voices were starting to feel like they were going to pop. The vocal cords, and I had to show them different exercises because they were straining. They would go to a show on a strained voice, and then the next day can't talk. Then they come to me and ask me to help them and fix them. So I always ask different people what they do. I have ways I've been helping them to do, vocal exercises and stuff, and I wanted to get other people's opinions on that,
Well, I mean, number one, vocalizing and practicing, you've got to sing from your diaphragm, period.
Right.
You know, and if you learn to breathe from your diaphragm, then you apply that to your daily speaking. You know, I mean, I know when I'm really in my diaphragm, and I've been talking probably about here, but I can right now, but like right now I'm talking with my diaphragm. So it's about learning how to breathe properly. And once you learn how to breathe properly, then I think in terms of the actual practicing, when I was working with Seth Riggs after I'd had my tonsillectomy, and I had to learn how to speak again and how to breathe again because my tonsils had been so enlarged, Seth Riggs told me 2 hours max, Dee.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it, a day, 2 hours max. And sometimes you don't even need to do that. He says sometimes an hour is all you need to do, because it depends on what the person is trying to achieve in their practicing.
Exactly. I agree with that. But people of all ages, we all need to hear this. Not the young people, as the reason why Camille is having this great conversation, having the young and the seasoned artists, all of us getting together, because we can all learn from this conversation. Yes, I know about singing from the diaphragm, but maybe other people, when they're playing their horn or singing, aren't quite of knowing this, you know. So thank you.
Yeah. So, that's number one. And I mean, and that goes for playing a horn. It is all about the breathing for instrumentalists. Is it not, Camille? Now, I don't hear you. Unmute yourself.
I don't hear you either. You got to unmute, Camille.
Unmute.
There you are. Yeah. Yes, we rely totally on breathing. That helps us with our phrasing. That helps us with sustaining our pitch, our sound, the fullness of it, and control. So it's the same thing for voice as it is.
So let me ask you a question, Camille, because you sing and you play the tenor saxophone. So is there a difference for you and your breathing techniques when you go from picking up the horn and blowing in the horn and then putting it down and then singing? Or are you still using the same breathing techniques from the diaphragm?
I'm still using the same breathing techniques. It's a little different because with the singing, I have to be conscious of what I need to adjust here and here and here for the different parts of the range. And then, of course, the timbres and coloring. But for the breathing, it's the same support system.
That's good to know. That's good to know, especially with the horn instrument. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've been on gigs where I've actually for like 8 days, 7 days a week, 4 hours a day. And with Wayne Newton. And those are 2.5 hour shows. And for 42 weeks a year. And let me tell you, you learn how to take care of your voice and not over sing, and use your voice sparingly and warm up. Warm up is so much. And if you get nodes or you got to pop, go to a doctor. Don't take other people's advice. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah.
Yes.
Your voice and you'll be in worse situation. Yeah.
I guess horn players just go and go to the repair shop, right? I don't know.
We have our issues too. Like our posture is very important. Play the wrong way for an extended period of time, we can have issues. Like I know for trumpet players here, if you're not practicing playing the right way, you can get issues with even just being able to turn your neck because you're playing constantly like this. Or for saxophone, particularly tenor, because of the instrument being the length that it is and the weight that it is, if we're playing in a way that's compromising our air column, we can have issues with our shoulders. So just same thing with instrumentalists. We have to
shoulders, back, everything.
How to breathe, our back, our neck, tendons. And
if not, it gets strained, right? You get strained, wear braces and stuff like that.
Yeah, in some cases you might have to wear braces, or you might have to completely change your way or method of playing. Like I know for me, I had to see a wonderful body instructor Marjorie Lambert, and she works with dancers.
Can you put that down in the comments, the name?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I had to
Thank you, Whitney. Thank you for your question. We have one more question. I know we're starting to run out of time.
Okay.
I want to make sure we get to this last question. This was from Raven, who we were unable to unmute, but she asked, in the spirit of your love for strong women, what advice would you give young women of color who are still experiencing an unleveled playing field in this industry and are afraid to rock the boat or fear of being ostracized and really can't afford to, especially in this current climate?
That's loaded.
Let me unmute.
Wait, do it again. Say it again. That's a lot. Maybe I need to take notes so I can do this. Or maybe you start, Camille, and I can write the notes down.
Sure. I'll read it one more time. Okay,
Raven. Okay.
In the spirit of your love for strong women, what advice would you give young women of color who are still experiencing an unleveled playing field in this industry and are afraid to rock the boat for fear of being ostracized and really can't afford to, especially in this current climate?
Well,
oh, sorry, Dee Dee, you just got muted. 1 second.
Unmute me.
There we go.
I want to say that the playing field is not ever going to be level. And that something that I had said in the beginning when Camille and I were just talking, it is really important if you're going to be in this business, in the music industry, and trying to have a career, that the first thing you work on is your personal self-esteem. You've got to learn to love yourself. You've got to learn to say, yes, this is me. If you don't have the belief in yourself, if you don't have the love for yourself, then you are not going to get the respect that you want. Because there are a lot of people in this business that love to prey on the insecure and the uneducated. And you know, I mean, so you arm yourself by working on your self-esteem, who you are as an individual. You arm yourself by learning as much about whatever it is that you're trying to do, whatever your musical point is. If you are a vocalist, whatever you need to learn, this is your responsibility. So when you get ready to go to the gig, you know what you're doing. You know who you are. You know what to expect because you know what you can bring. So you've got to do your own homework before you get out there. If you want the respect, you better start first by respecting yourself. And then I think everything just will start to fall into place. But you need to learn as much about your business as you can. You need to, you know, if it's about like getting your own microphone, saving up some money so you can get your own microphone if you were a singer, so that when you get ready to go out and get ready to go jam sessions, you know, if they have some funky stuff, you can say, well, I've got this. And you know, knowing your keys for your songs that you want to sing if you're going to a jam session, because, you know, a lot of musicians get real pissed when the singer comes on the stage and they say, well, what key? And you go, I don't know. Learn, you know, so prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. And that is how you will level out the playing field for yourself. So you just need to work on, if you've got some areas that you don't feel good about, then that's what you got to do your homework on. And nobody can tell you. We can't tell you. I can't tell you. Camille can't tell you. Yumi can't tell you. Whitney can't tell you. We can't tell you. It has to come from you. You are always going to have situations as long as you live. I'm 70 years old. I still have situations. As long as you live, you're going to have situations. Just coming into this world with brown skin is a situation, you know, and we're living through some amazing times right now. This is amazing what is going on. So you have got to figure out who you are as a person. We know that as Black people, we always just have to bring a little bit more. But prepare yourself and work on being the best that you can in whatever your field is. And then things will start to be clearer. But the very first thing you have got to work on is your self-esteem, because nobody is going to give it to you. You got to get it yourself. Do you understand me? So anything that you want to do, you prepare yourself for that thing, because ain't nobody out here giving away no free gifts. And we are Black women. You know my biggest thing was, and for years I had to pray to get rid of the anger. When Diana Krall came on the scene, can we talk? When Diana Krall came on the scene, she came on the scene when Diane Reeves was real hot and Cassandra was real hot. And then I was coming up and, I was over in Europe, but, we was doing our thing and Abby was hot. And I said, uh-oh. And this is not to belittle her or to disrespect her, but I knew I was living in a society where the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, good-looking, singing and playing piano child was going to come and sweep us under the rugs just because they finally had the white singer. And that was a realism. That was a truth. And so I made a decision for myself that I was going to, that's when I really hunkered down and I said, I'm going to create something that she can't do, that only I can do. And I am going to make sure that my statement, when it is heard, people are very clear about where I stand. And that's what saved me. So you're going to have situations, but you have to be your own boss. You are the master of your ship. You steer your ship. So you've got to make the decision. If you really want to be in this business, you're going to have to get a thick skin. You're going to have to work on that self-esteem. You're going to have to do everything that you can so that you can withstand the difficult times that you're going to run into, the doors being slammed in your face. You're going to have to be able to pick yourself up and keep moving. And don't be looking for somebody to pat you on the back. They might not be there. It's got to come from you. I hope that helped.
That was powerful.
That was, woo, yes.
On point. Yeah.
That was it. Thank you.
Is it okay to take one more question?
I'm fine. I have a plane in 2 hours. and I've got to go and get a mani-pedi and
massage.
I'm home. I'm in my kitchen. I'm home. Come on, let's roll.
This question is from my other. I have two mama mentors. One is Dee Dee. The other one is Maxine Gordon.
Oh, is Maxine here?
Yes, he's here.
Yes.
Where's Maxine?
Where's Maxine? Wait,
oh, look at all these beautiful women.
Oh, wait.
Look at all you beautiful women. Did she go away? Wait.
I don't know.
Wow, there's so many people here.
Woo! Dia Owens is here. Chanel Johns, Sharnay Wade.
I think Mama Maxine disappeared for a second.
I think she did too.
I have her question and it's applicable to
India.
Let's unmute India.
So She asked,
hey, baby, are you in your car? It is so good to see you. I miss you so much. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, baby. Okay, I'm sorry, ladies. Okay. Just a little moment.
She asked the question. She said, well, the first question was, she told me to ask you, what did you tell me after Louis Hayes' birthday at Dizzy's Club?
Who?
Maxine.
She said,
I don't remember we talked about so much that night, Maxine. What? I don't remember 2 hours ago, Maxine.
I was still here.
Does she remember?
I think that's
why she asked that. I think she's goading me.
But I think it has something to do with you and her coming to me after the gig and being like, listen, we your mamas, we looking after you.
Oh, there was that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that moment.
But the other part of the question was, how do you see changes in the future for young women jazz artists? How can they learn more about the business to protect themselves from exploitation? And she said, love you.
Do we love Maxine? I love Maxine. Anyway, you just have to, I had said at the beginning, the importance of reading a contract, learning how to read your contracts. Do not, and don't just sign a piece of paper until you've read it. You've got to learn how to read your contracts. You've got to learn as much about the business that you want to go in as possible, so that you don't go in blind. You ask questions. You don't just settle for something if somebody tells you something and it doesn't feel right to you. Then go and research that thing. Ask the questions that you need to ask. Because otherwise, we could sell you a piece of swampland down here and tell you that, we're going to throw some dirt on it and it ain't going to sink.
Right.
So there's a little bit about, the music business that people think, well, it's so complicated. It's no different than going and signing a contract to rent an apartment. Come on now. Or leasing a car if you got some money. Or, getting your credit card. Do you understand the terms of your credit card? Do you understand what your percentage is? Do you understand what you got to pay monthly? Do you understand when you go and you buy something, how much that thing costs? It's about learning just the basics of whatever it is that you're going to do. Because the better armed we are as women, the stronger we can present ourselves. So if you don't come into a situation with knowledge from doing your own personal research, you're not going to get the respect that you want.
Right.
You have to go into the situation owning that situation. You can't go into a situation out making stuff. That's not going to work. We in the 21st century, and we got a whole lot of shit going on right now, as we all see. So this is our moment. This is the moment when we define and we say, okay, now that we have your attention, and we've been dealing with this stuff has been going on, all of this systemic racism, we've been dealing with that shit. I mean, every time I go out the door, I got my invisible fists up because I never know who I'm going to run into. I never know if somebody might say something a little sideways. You just never know. So I go out with my armor. So you can best be sure that when I get ready to go to a gig, I got more armor on. Because I got the personal armor on, and then I got to be the professional person too. So you've got to decide how you want people to perceive you, and you are the one that owns your space. Nobody can take that from you unless you give it up. Okay? Nobody can take you away from you except yourself. Nobody can take your talent away from you. Nobody can take your knowledge away from you unless you are ready to let that thing go. But you have got to learn. You have got to do your research. You've got to do your due diligence in order for you to have a career. Ain't nobody gonna give us shit. Nobody. And you can best believe, as sure as I am sitting here in front of you with this name, Dee Dee Bridgewater, and this reputation behind it, that I have worked my ass off to get to this point. And I am very much aware that it could be taken away from me tomorrow. So there's something else, if you get your career going, learning how to have humility, learning how to be gracious, learning how to say thank you, learning how to respect the other people that are going to be in your orbit. You get what you give. It's real simple. And sometimes I think I don't know, I find this with a lot of young people that I speak to today, they try and complicate a situation. It's not complicated. It's not complicated, ladies. We got to do our homework. We have to decide how we want to be perceived. And then we have to go towards that thing. You have to claim it first. If you don't claim it, it's going to be snatched away from you.
Oh, no.
Okay?
Right.
You have to be really honest, though, with yourselves, because sometimes I have done master classes with singers, and there have been people in that class that do not have great voices, but they want to sing. And so to those people, I say, baby, what is it that you really want to do? Because this voice that I'm hearing is not a voice that is going to draw people in. So if you really want to do this, then you're going to have to go deep inside of you, and you're going to have to work on this voice, on this instrument that you have, and strengthen it so that it is impactful, so that when someone does listen, they can go, ooh, who is this? What is this? And we all have different instruments. So you cannot try and have a career trying to base yourself on somebody else's stuff. That ain't you. It ain't never gonna be you, that person. You are you, okay? And no one else is you. We all have our own uniqueness, our own gifts. So as soon as you can recognize what yours is, and as soon as you can build upon your individual gift, the sooner you're going to be able to take it on out and share it with the world. Is that good?
Perfect.
That was perfect. I think that's
perfect.
Excellent way to.
I mean, listen. Okay, India is. I don't know if she's still on here,
Yeah,
but India. Okay, India, where are you?
Yes, I'm here.
Where is she? Let me find it. There you are.
You're there.
Baby, remember how we met?
Yes.
Right? Okay. We met, for you all who don't know, we met walking down the street in Harlem. She was coming towards me and she had her bass. I was like, whoa. Who are you? The thing that always impressed me about India is the thing that stopped me that first time was I felt that I was coming towards a Black woman with a bass that knew what she was doing and who she was. And that's how you impressed me. And then afterwards, we had encounters where we would talk a little bit about style and stuff. And then I started seeing India, and India was like all up into her style. Now, India, look at you. Just coming from work. So India, go ahead. You were what?
I was listening to you. Every time we talked, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then when in Ukraine, I was watching your performance, and I was like, wow, this is so powerful. And I started forming my shows after yours in a way. because the message was so clear. When you walk into a room, it's a presence. It's, I can't even describe it.
But so, okay, so you say that, India, but the thing is, you have that presence too, and so you know it now, and you're in it, and you are blessing us. I turned on Stephen Colbert for a little bit, and there you are. I said, look at my girl, look at my girl. You and Nega Santos. I was like, look at my ladies. I'm so proud of you all.
Thank you.
But India wouldn't be where she is now if India hadn't made a decision about how she was going to be and who she was. India was I'm telling you, it was such a vision for me when I saw India walking down the street. I don't know if we were on Lennox or Adam Clayton. I don't know what we were. Frederick Douglass. Were we Frederick Douglass? Adam Clayton?
I think
Lennox. I think we were Frederick Douglass.
Frederick Douglass,
yes.
past March 16th.
Yes.
And you were eating in the restaurant, I think, with your nephew. And I said, that's Dee Dee. I gotta say something.
Yes, I was eating that. Yes. That's right. Yes. So, but I just point to India because India for me is the perfect example of a woman who knew what she wanted to do. She knew you knew you wanted to play the bass, but she informed herself. She did everything. She got the training. And then when she was ready, she came out, and everyone that encountered her would say, who is that? That's what you want to be. You want to know who you are. You want to make that decision, and you want to come at the world very clear about who you are. And then people will go, whoa, you know? It's so important, ladies. I cannot tell you enough how important it is to really learn to love yourself. I can't stress that enough. You've got to come from that first. So any of you who are feeling insecure, you've got to work on these insecurities. Why are you feeling insecure? Try and eliminate the things that make you feel insecure. Surround yourself with things that make you feel powerful, that make you feel strong. Look in that mirror every day and say, yes, I am somebody. I am somebody. I am important. And I love myself. And if there's anything that you don't like about yourself, change it. Change it. Don't have other people telling you what you need to do. Do it yourself. Do your own homework. Do your own self-work. Change it. And then move it forward. And we ain't got time for no pity parties. You gonna sit at home feeling sorry for yourself because you ain't got something that you think it should have. You better go out and get something else. I don't take that. I don't have that. I don't have that. My children will tell you, I don't deal with that. We don't play that. Mama don't play that. We're in some very difficult times right now, but we have to come out as individuals and as women, because we have dealt with not only systematic racism, but we've dealt with systematic sexism. Come on now. Come on now. So we all have to get ourselves together. We all have to be ready. We're in a whole new world right now. Mm-hmm. This is new. And I think we're going to be up in this for a while. I think it's going to be part of our new norm. Is this virtual thing that we have, seeing each other and not really being able to touch. You know, we're dealing with a pandemic that we don't know about, that keeps mutating, and you know, the scientists are running after it and trying to figure it out, and you know, it just keeps mutating. This is a new breed. We're in a whole new world, y'all. So we have to take that seriously too. Your health, pay attention to your bodies. Eat properly. Exercise. Okay? And love on yourselves. Love yourself. Fight for yourself. Don't let anybody beat you down, and create a community of like-minded sisters that can be there for you and help you if you feel like you're falling. Don't think that people don't want to know what's going on in your life. If you are with people that really care about you, they want to know. You know, don't think you don't have a friend. We all have a friend. We all have somebody that we can turn to. And then in the deepest and darkest times, I turn to prayer. I get down on my knees. And sometimes I will cry and say, God, I don't know what I'm doing. Please help me. Please guide me. Please show me. And then it'll happen. It may not happen in the moment. You know, I'm speaking figuratively, but it will come to me. And that's when we were talking in the beginning with Camille about being still. Embrace stillness. It's okay to be still. We don't have to be moving all the time and creating all the time. You know, and it's all about life, just living. And our lives should be about more than just our careers. Otherwise, we're going to have an imbalance. So, okay. I love you all.
Wow.
I love you all very, very much. I love you, Camille. You know I love you, girl. Uni, you know I love you. You know every time I come over there, I can never do anything without you when I'm up in jail. So I'm like, Uni, I'm lost in everything I'm putting over there. Uni's like, come on, Miss Dee Dee, we gotta go. I'm like, hey, Uni, let's go.
Oh my God, thank you.
But listen, let me say something else. Respect, show respect.
That's right.
Yes.
Show respect. Stay humble, show respect. Show your gratitude. If you got the opportunity to be on the stage, say thank you to those people that have come and sat down in those seats to listen to you. Say thank you that they paid whatever they paid to get into that space to listen to you. Say thank you. Say thank you to the people that you are on the stage with. Say thank you. This stuff doesn't happen just because of you. And it takes a village to put one little gig together. It's a whole lot of people behind getting your one little gig.
Come on now.
Okay?
That's right.
The people that you are working in that room with, the waiters, the bartenders, you all are a family for that night. Say thank you. Mm-hmm. It's important. If you want respect, you got to give it. Okay? We stand our ground, of course, but you can only stand your ground if you're correct. Peace out, y'all.
Hey.
Oh, thank you so much, Didi, for doing this. I can't.
So welcome, Camille. I love you so. I'm so glad you're doing this. To all the ladies that are here, I'm sorry I didn't get to meet you all individually, but it's so nice to be able to scroll through and see everybody's faces. Hey, girl, how you doing, Sharonay? I see you. Who is this? Shelly. Hi, Shelly. This is so cool. This is so awesome.
And Nia says hello too, Kojo's mom.
Oh. Hi, Lynn. Okay, this is fabulous. Thank you. I would love to come.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I think she disconnected herself.
Oh, no.
I think she was going to say she'd love to come back and do it again.
I'll find out. But I just want to say real quick, thank you everybody for joining us today. I know for me, this was such a really special session. Oh, there she is. Hey, Mama Didi.
There she is.
I am. Thank you. Now unmute me. I don't know what happened. That was me scrolling through and seeing everybody's face on my phone. Sorry. Yeah, no, I would love to come back. I would love to, Camille. I just want you all to know that, you know, each and every one of you is special, you know, and you all have gifts. And it's just about tuning into yourself to really connect with your particular gift. And as I said in the beginning when Camille and I were talking, you are unique. Do not try and be like anybody else other than yourself. Be you. Be you, love you, and let us see you. Okay?
Okay.
Mm.
Amen.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dee, for joining
You're
us.
so welcome, Camille. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Uni. You the bomb, Uni.
I love you.
I love you, darling. I miss you, ladies. I really do. But I'm with you all in spirit. And yeah, take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Real quick for
last words
out there, our next Haven Hang is July 1st. So if you want to join and be part of this session again, please join the newsletter at www.camillethurmanmusic.com/thehavenhang. Submit your email, and I'll be happy to put you in the loop to let you know when we'll be doing the next one. The next one's going to be exciting too. I'm not going to share who's going to be on there because I like to keep the surprise going, but just subscribe and you'll see who's on the next one. And also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Camille Thurman, Dee Bridgewater, of course, respectively, on her social media platforms. And we hope to see you again soon. Oh, and one more thing. Uni's going to be posting a survey form. So if you could just take a few seconds just to fill it out, we'd love to get some feedback on what you think about the sessions, because this is for you, and we want to make sure that we're making each session right for you and giving you the tools and essential things that you need for your career and for your development as a person. So let us know what you're thinking. If there's something you like or don't like, let us know.
Thank you so much, Camille. I will be posting the survey in the comments on Facebook as well. Thank you, Dee, for being here. And Camille, again, thank you for creating this space. This is so important.
Yes.
Especially at this time and before and during and after. So hopefully this will keep going, and I'm here to support you as well. So thank you, Camille.
Thank you. All right, ladies, have a lovely, lovely evening, and I'll see you in July.
Beautiful.
Take care, everyone.
Take care, and stay safe.
Yes.
And wear your mask.
Please, wear those masks, please. Social distance, please. It is not gone. Do not believe the lies. It is not gone. It's still here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.